Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Facts channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe you had a long day. Or maybe you're the kind of person who likes falling asleep to the whispers of nocturnal mysteries rather than counting sheep. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. Let your mind relax, your breathing slow, and your body grow light as moonlight filtering through leaves. Because tonight, we're exploring creatures of the night, beings who come alive when the world falls into darkness, moving through shadows with ancient grace. We'll drift from the silent flight of owls to the gentle foraging of hedgehogs, discovering how life transforms when daylight fades. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you, or at least spark curiosity as you drift off. Before we begin, if this helps you unwind, consider liking and subscribing, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, let's begin. The barn owl flies through darkness on wings designed for silence, its feathers structured in ways that muffle the sound of air passing over them. Special serrations along the leading edges of the wing feathers break up turbulence, while soft fringes on the trailing edges absorb sound that would otherwise announce the owl's approach. This acoustic stealth allows the owl to hunt without alerting prey to its presence, gliding through the night like a ghost made of feathers and moonlight. The silent flight serves another purpose as well, allowing the owl to hear the tiny rustlings of small animals moving through grass and leaves below. Without the sound of its own wing beats to interfere, the owl can detect the faintest scratching of a mouse or the soft breathing of a vole hidden beneath vegetation. The face of a barn owl forms a heart-shaped disc that functions like a satellite dish, collecting and focusing sounds toward the ear openings hidden beneath feathers. This facial structure is so effective that barn owls can hunt in complete darkness, relying entirely on sound to locate and capture prey they never see. The combination of silent flight and exceptional hearing makes the barn owl a master of the night, perfectly adapted to a world without light. The eyes of nocturnal creatures have evolved remarkable adaptations that allow them to see in conditions where diurnal animals would be nearly blind. Many night-active animals possess a reflective layer behind the retina, called the tapetum lucidum, which bounces light back through the eye a second time, essentially giving photoreceptors two chances to absorb available photons. This is what causes the eye shine. When car headlights or flashlights catch the eyes of animals in darkness, that eerie glow that seems almost supernatural. The color of eyeshine varies by species, with some reflecting green, others gold or red, creating a way to identify animals by their eye glow alone. Beyond this reflective layer, nocturnal eyes contain higher proportions of rod cells, the photoreceptors specialized for detecting light and motion rather than color, trading the ability to see vivid hues for the ability to see in dimness. The pupils of many night creatures can dilate extremely wide, allowing maximum light to enter when darkness falls, then contracting to tiny slits during the rare moments when they encounter bright light. These adaptations come with trade-offs, as eyes optimized for darkness often see less detail and poorer color than those designed for daylight. But in the world after sunset, the ability to see at all outweighs the loss of fine visual discrimination. The eyes of night creatures shine with captured light, holding in their depths the accumulated adaptations of millions of years spent living in shadow. The hedgehog emerges from its daytime hiding place as dusk settles, beginning its nightly routine of foraging through gardens and hedgerows with an unhurried deliberateness. These small mammals, covered in thousands of spines that serve as both armor and warning, shuffle through the darkness with their noses close to the ground, following scent trails that lead to insects, worms, and other small invertebrates. The hedgehog's poor eyesight matters little in its nighttime world, as its sense of smell guides it to food hidden beneath leaves or just under the soil surface. When threatened, the hedgehog rolls into a tight ball, with its spines pointing outward in all directions, creating a defensive sphere that few predators can penetrate. This simple but effective strategy has allowed hedgehogs to survive largely unchanged for millions of years, their basic body plan so successful that evolution has seen little reason to modify it. the hedgehog's metabolism runs high, requiring it to consume roughly a third of its body weight in food each night, making its foraging expeditions not optional but essential for survival. During winter, in colder climates, hedgehogs hibernate, lowering their body temperature and heart rate dramatically to conserve energy when food becomes scarce. The sound of a hedgehog moving through a garden at night, snuffling and rustling in the undergrowth, speaks to the hidden life that flourishes when humans sleep, a parallel world of activity happening just beyond our awareness. The lunar moth drifts through summer nights on wings of pale green that seem to glow in moonlight, their translucent beauty making them appear more spirit than insect. These moths live their entire adult lives without eating, possessing no mouth or digestive system, surviving solely on energy stored during their time as caterpillars. Their adult existence lasts only about a week, devoted entirely to finding a mate and reproducing before their brief spark of life extinguishes. The long tails streaming from their hind wings serve as defense against bats, the twisting appendages creating confusing echoes that cause echolocation to target the tails rather than the moth's vulnerable body. When a bat strikes, the tail breaks away easily, allowing the moth to escape with its life, though slightly less adorned. The eye spots on the lunar moth's wings may startle predators or deflect attacks away from vital body parts. Another layer of protection for a creature so fragile it seems impossible it survives at all. Male lunar moths can detect the pheromones of females from miles away, their large, feathery antennae acting as chemical detectors of extraordinary sensitivity. They follow these molecular trails through the darkness, navigating a landscape of scent invisible to human perception. The lunar moth's beauty and brevity capture something essential about life itself. The way brilliance and fragility so often exist together, burning briefly but memorably against the vastness of night. The firefly creates light through a chemical reaction in specialized organs in its abdomen, producing what scientists call bioluminescence with remarkable efficiency. Unlike a light bulb that converts most energy to heat, the firefly's light production generates almost no heat, with nearly 100% of the energy producing visible light. This cold light flashes in species-specific patterns that serve as communication between individuals, with males flying and flashing, while females, often flightless or staying in vegetation, respond with their own timed flashes. The patterns are so distinct that different firefly species sharing the same habitat can avoid confusion, each reading only the signals meant for them. The synchronous fireflies of certain regions take this communication to another level, with thousands of individuals coordinating their flashes to pulse in unison, creating waves of light that sweep across hillsides and forests. Scientists still study how this coordination emerges without any central control, each firefly adjusting its rhythm based on the flashes it sees from neighbors until the entire population achieves synchrony. The larvae of fireflies also glow, earning them the name glowworms, and their light may serve as a warning to predators that they taste unpleasant or are toxic. The ability to produce light has evolved independently many times in nature, but perhaps nowhere is it more enchanting than in the firefly's summer night performance. Tiny lanterns, floating through darkness, like earthbound stars that have descended to dance among the trees. The bat navigates the night sky using echolocation, emitting high-frequency calls and listening for the echoes that bounce back from objects in the environment. This biological sonar allows bats to build detailed acoustic maps of their surroundings, detecting obstacles as fine as a human hair and tracking flying insects with precision that rivals any technological system. The calls bats produce are often ultrasonic, pitched above the range of human hearing, though some species make audible clicks or chirps as they hunt. Different bat species use different frequencies and call structures optimized for their particular hunting strategies and habitats, with bats hunting in open spaces using lower frequencies that travel farther, while those navigating cluttered forests use higher frequencies that provide more detailed information at shorter ranges. The rate of calls increases dramatically when a bat closes in on prey, shifting from a few calls per second to hundreds, creating a rapid-fire buzz called a feeding buzz that allows split-second tracking adjustments. Despite the sophistication of echolocation, most bats also have functional vision, using their eyes to navigate and their sonar for hunting and close-range obstacle avoidance. The energy cost of echolocation is substantial, requiring bats to consume enormous quantities of insects each night relative to their body size, with some species eating half their body weight in a single night. The social lives of many bat species include roosting in large colonies, where thousands of individuals hang together in caves or other sheltered locations, their collective body heat, helping them conserve energy during the day when they sleep. The fox moves through suburban and rural landscapes with equal comfort, adapting to human presence with an intelligence and flexibility that allows it to thrive in environments that have defeated less adaptable species. These canids are primarily nocturnal or crepuscular, meaning they are most active during twilight hours and through the night when human activity decreases and prey becomes more available. The red fox in particular has proven remarkably successful at living alongside humans, learning to navigate streets, raid garbage bins, and find shelter in spaces humans would never suspect they occupied. A fox's hearing is so acute, it can detect a mouse moving under a foot of snow. Using sound to locate prey, it cannot see before pouncing with a characteristic leap that pins the prey beneath its front paws. The varied diet of foxes includes small mammals, birds, insects, fruits, and human refuse, dietary flexibility that contributes to their success across diverse habitats. Foxes are solitary hunters, each individual maintaining its own territory that it marks with scent and defends against intruders, though breeding pairs work together to raise their kits during the spring and summer. The vocalizations of foxes include a range of sounds from barks to screams, with the most startling being the vixen's scream during mating season. An eerie sound that once heard is never forgotten. Despite living near humans and being seen occasionally, foxes remain fundamentally wild animals, moving through our spaces like shadows, present but separate, living parallel lives in the margins we create between our structured environments. The nightjar sits motionless on the ground during the day, its mottled plumage providing such perfect camouflage against leaf litter and bark that people can walk within feet without noticing it. As darkness arrives, the bird transforms from inactive form to aerial hunter, opening its enormous mouth while flying to scoop up moths and other insects from the air. The nightjar's mouth opens so wide that it appears disproportionate to the bird's size, creating an efficient trap for flying insects that the bird pursues on silent wings. The whisker-like bristles around the mouth may help funnel insects into the gape or protect the eyes from struggling prey, though their exact function continues to generate scientific debate. Nightjars lay their eggs directly on the ground with no nest structure, relying entirely on camouflage to protect their offspring from predators. The female sits so still during incubation that she will allow humans to approach within touching distance before finally flushing in a burst of explosive flight. The churring song of nightjars, a continuous trilling that can last for minutes, fills summer nights in their habitats. A sound that seems mechanical yet organic, repetitive yet somehow soothing. Some cultures have feared nightjars, associating them with omens or supernatural events, their nocturnal habits and unusual appearance generating myths about their nature and intentions. In reality, nightjars are simply birds, superbly adapted to aerial insect hunting after dark, their strange features all serving the practical purpose of survival in the competitive world of night hunters. The opossum shuffles through the darkness with a shambling gait that belies its success as a species, having remained virtually unchanged for millions of years, while more glamorous animals evolved and went extinct around it. North America's only marsupial, the opossum carries its young in a pouch after an extraordinarily brief gestation period of only about 2 weeks, with the tiny, undeveloped young then completing their development while attached to nipples inside the pouch. A female opossum may give birth to 20 or more offspring, though only those that successfully crawl to the pouch and find a nipple will survive, a harsh but efficient reproductive strategy. The opossum's reputation for playing dead when threatened is well deserved, as the animal can enter a catatonic state complete with slowed breathing, limp body, and even the release of a foul-smelling substance from glands near the tail. This apparent death can last for hours, convincing predators that the opossum is already deceased and therefore not worth eating, allowing the opossum to escape once the threat passes. Despite their somewhat ungainly appearance and slow movement, opossums are excellent climbers, using their prehensile tail as a fifth limb to grasp branches while foraging in trees. Their diet is omnivorous to an extreme degree, consuming everything from carrion to insects to fruits to garbage. This dietary flexibility contributing to their success in habitats from forests to suburbs. Opossums perform a valuable ecological service by eating enormous quantities of ticks, with studies suggesting a single opossum may consume thousands of ticks in a season, helping to control populations of these disease-carrying parasites. The opossum's tolerance for venom makes it relatively immune to snake bites that would kill most animals, adding another advantage to an already impressive suite of survival adaptations. The badger emerges from its set as night falls, beginning its nocturnal routine of foraging across territories that it knows with intimate familiarity. These powerful mustelids possess strong forelimbs and long claws designed for digging, allowing them to excavate extensive underground burrow systems that may house multiple generations of badgers and can be centuries old. The social structure of European badgers differs from many carnivores, with groups living together in clans that share territories and sets, though they often forage individually through the night. Badgers are omnivorous, eating earthworms, insects, small mammals, and plant material, with earthworms forming a large proportion of the diet in many regions. A single badger consuming hundreds in a single night. The black and white striped face of the badger may serve as a warning signal, advertising that the badger is capable of vigorous defense despite its generally peaceful nature. When threatened, a badger can become a formidable opponent, using powerful jaws and aggressive charges to discourage attackers much larger than itself. The well-worn paths that badgers create between their sets and foraging areas can persist for generations, creating permanent features in the landscape that reveal the presence of badger clans to those who know what to look for. Badgers maintain elaborate grooming behaviors, bringing fresh bedding material into their sets and regularly cleaning their living spaces, a fastidiousness that seems almost domestic. The low profile and dark coloration of badgers allows them to move through the night, largely unnoticed by humans, though their presence is revealed through signs like tracks, latrines, and the distinctive entrances to their underground homes. The cricket fills summer nights with its rhythmic chirping, a sound produced not by vocal cords but by rubbing specialized wing structures together in a process called stridulation. Male crickets produce these songs to attract females and to establish territories, with different species creating distinct chirp patterns that allow females to identify appropriate mates. The rate of cricket chirping correlates with temperature, speeding up as the air warms and slowing as it cools. A relationship so reliable that cricket chirps can be used as a rough thermometer. The ears of crickets are located not on their heads but on their front legs, small membranes that detect sound vibrations and allow crickets to locate the source of calls with surprising accuracy. Crickets are omnivorous, feeding on plant material, smaller insects, and organic debris, their feeding habits making them recyclers of nutrients in their ecosystems. The life cycle of crickets typically spans 1 year, with nymphs hatching in spring and maturing through the summer before reproducing in late summer or fall. In many cultures, crickets are considered symbols of good fortune or are kept as pets for their songs, with cricket fighting being a traditional sport in some regions. The aggressive interactions between male crickets involve posturing, wrestling, and biting as they compete for territories and access to females. Despite their small size, Crickets play significant roles in food webs, serving as prey for countless larger animals, while themselves controlling populations of even smaller organisms. The chorus of cricket song that rises from fields and gardens on warm nights represents millions of individual calls, blending into a collective voice, each cricket contributing to a symphony that has played through summer nights for millions of years. The raccoon's dexterous front paws function almost like hands, allowing manipulation of objects with a precision rare among non-primates. These intelligent mammals use their sensitive paws to explore their environment through touch, often appearing to wash their food in water, though they are actually using moisture to enhance their tactile perception. The raccoon's adaptability to human environments has made them common in urban and suburban areas, where they exploit garbage, pet food, and other resources humans inadvertently provide. Their intelligence manifests in problem-solving abilities that allow them to open containers, unlatch doors, and remember solutions to challenges for years after learning them. Raccoons are primarily nocturnal, using the cover of darkness to forage and travel, though in areas where they feel secure from human interference, they may be active during daylight hours as well. The facial markings that give raccoons their distinctive masked appearance may reduce glare and improve night vision, though they also make each individual recognizable to other raccoons. Social interactions between raccoons vary by season and location, with mothers and young forming stable groups while males tend towards solitary lifestyles, except during the breeding season. Raccoons communicate through a variety of vocalizations, including purrs, whistles, growls, and screams, along with scent marking that leaves information for other raccoons about identity, reproductive status, and territorial boundaries. The wintertime behavior of raccoons in colder climates includes periods of dormancy, though not true hibernation, during which they remain in their dens, living off stored body fat until weather improves. Despite their success as a species and their tolerance for human presence, raccoons remain wild animals whose behavior can be unpredictable and whose presence sometimes creates conflicts with humans seeking to maintain property and prevent damage. The moth's attraction to artificial lights creates one of nature's most puzzling behaviors, with various theories attempting to explain why these nocturnal insects spiral toward their deaths around streetlights and porch lights. One hypothesis suggests moths navigate using natural light sources like the moon, maintaining a constant angle to the light to fly straight, but artificial lights nearby confuse this system, causing the moth to spiral inward as it tries to maintain its angle to a light source that is far closer than celestial objects. Another theory proposes that moths use light to determine which direction is up, becoming disoriented when bright lights appear in unexpected locations. Whatever the cause, the result is the same, with moths circling lights in behavior that accomplishes nothing and often leads to exhaustion, predation, or death from impact or heat. The diversity of moths far exceeds that of butterflies, with tens of thousands of moth species occupying nearly every terrestrial habitat, many of them nocturnal and rarely seen by humans. Moths play crucial roles as pollinators, with some plants depending entirely on night-flying moths for reproduction, their flowers opening and producing scent only after dark to attract their specific pollinators. The cryptic coloration of most moths provides excellent camouflage during daylight hours, when they rest on bark, leaves, or other surfaces that match their wing patterns. Some moths lack mouthparts entirely as adults, living only long enough to reproduce before dying, their adult lives measured in days or even hours. The furry coating on many moth bodies helps insulate their flight muscles, which must be warmed above ambient temperature before the moth can fly. This warm-up period being why moths sometimes appear to vibrate before taking off. The diversity of forms, sizes, and behaviors among moths represents one of evolution's great radiations, filling nocturnal niches with species adapted to feed on everything from flower nectar to blood, to the tears of sleeping animals. The nightingale fills spring and summer nights with songs so complex and beautiful that it has inspired poets and musicians for centuries. Despite the name suggesting exclusively nocturnal singing, Nightingales also sing during the day, though their songs are more noticeable at night when fewer other birds are vocalizing. The male nightingale's song serves to attract females and defend territory, with repertoires including hundreds of different phrases that the bird recombines in elaborate sequences. The ability to learn and modify songs means that nightingales from different populations sing distinct dialects, with young birds learning the specific patterns of their region by listening to adult males. The complexity of nightingale song has made it a subject of scientific study, examining how birds learn, remember, and produce intricate vocalizations without the vocal cords that mammals use. Nightingales are relatively plain in appearance, brown birds that would be unremarkable if not for their extraordinary acoustic abilities. A reminder that nature's most impressive features are not always visual. These birds are migratory, spending winters in Africa and returning to Europe and Asia to breed, their arrival marking the beginning of spring in many cultures. The diet of nightingales consists primarily of insects and larvae, with some berries and fruits supplementing the menu, particularly during migration when energy demands increase. Habitat loss and changes to traditional breeding areas have caused declines in nightingale populations in some regions, with the soundtrack of spring becoming quieter as these master songsters disappear. The cultural significance of the nightingale extends far beyond its biological reality, with the bird becoming a symbol of love, loss, and the transcendent power of beauty expressed through sound. To hear a nightingale singing in darkness is to experience one of nature's most moving performances, a solo concert given by a small brown bird that pours everything it has into sound that floats through the night air like liquid silver. The skunk's reputation precedes it, with most animals and humans recognizing the black and white warning coloration that advertises its chemical defense. The spray a skunk produces from glands near the base of its tail contains sulfur compounds that create an overwhelming smell detectable from considerable distances, with the oily liquid difficult to remove once it contacts skin or fur. Skunks can aim their spray with remarkable accuracy, twisting their bodies to direct the noxious stream at threats, while keeping their face pointed at the danger. Before spraying, skunks typically give warning through foot stamping, tail raising, and sometimes even handstands, displays that communicate clear messages about the consequences of continued approach. The spray is painful if it contacts eyes, causing temporary blindness and intense burning, making it effective even against large predators, who quickly learn to avoid animals displaying skunk warning patterns. Despite their fearsome chemical weapon, skunks are generally docile animals who spray only as a last resort, preferring to avoid confrontation through their advertisement and warning behaviors. Skunks are omnivorous foragers, using their strong claws to dig for insects, grubs, and roots, while also eating small animals, eggs, and plant material, depending on availability and season. The nocturnal lifestyle of skunks allows them to forage in relative safety, as most of their potential predators are diurnal, though owls, being unable to smell, sometimes hunt skunks without being deterred by their defense. Skunks do not hibernate, but become less active during winter, sometimes sheltering in communal dens, where multiple individuals share body heat to conserve energy. The fearless waddle of a skunk through the night, tail held high and confident in its ability to discourage interference, represents one of nature's most successful defense strategies, proving that you don't need size or speed when you possess a weapon nothing wants to experience twice. The tawny owl calls through European forests with its distinctive hooting, a sound often represented as twit-twoo, though this is actually a duet between male and female birds rather than a single call. These medium-sized owls are strongly territorial, defending their hunting grounds vigorously against intruders, and sometimes attacking humans who venture too close to nests. The tawny owl's adaptation to darkness includes exceptional hearing that allows it to hunt in complete blackness, locating prey through sound alone when no light is available. Their facial disc, like those of other owls, channels sound to asymmetrically placed ears, with one ear higher than the other, creating timing and volume differences that allow the owl to pinpoint sound sources in 3 dimensions. The diet of tawny owls consists mainly of small mammals, particularly voles and mice, though they opportunistically take birds, frogs, insects, and even fish when available. Tawny owls nest in tree cavities, old nests of other birds, or sometimes buildings, with females incubating eggs while males provide food, a division of labor that continues after hatching as the female broods and feeds chicks using prey delivered by her mate. The young owls leave the nest before they can fly properly, spending time as branches who hop and climb through trees while strengthening their wings and learning to hunt. The camouflage coloration of tawny owls, mottled browns and grays, allows them to roost during the day pressed against tree trunks where they become nearly invisible to passing eyes. The ability of tawny owls to thrive in urban parks and gardens, taking advantage of street lighting that makes prey easier to spot, demonstrates adaptability that has allowed them to persist while some other owl species decline. The voice of the tawny owl, echoing through darkness, has become synonymous with nighttime in much of Europe, a sound that connects modern listeners to countless generations who heard the same calls and wove them into folklore and cultural memory. The sugar glider drifts between trees in Australian forests, using flaps of skin stretched between its wrists and ankles to glide distances exceeding the length of a football field. These small marsupials are nocturnal, emerging from tree hollows after dark to feed on sap, nectar, insects, and the sugary secretions of certain insects. The large eyes of sugar gliders gather maximum light, while their excellent hearing detects the movement of insects and the calls of other gliders through the forest canopy. Sugar gliders are highly social, living in family groups that sleep together during the day, their collective body heat helping maintain temperature in the cool air of the trees. The ability to glide allows sugar gliders to access food resources and escape predators with minimal energy expenditure compared to climbing down one tree and up another. They control their glides by adjusting the tension in their gliding membranes and using their tail as a rudder, allowing them to maneuver around obstacles and land precisely on chosen targets. Communication between sugar gliders includes a variety of vocalizations, from barking to chirping, along with scent marking, using glands on their forehead, chest, and near their tail. The grooming behaviors of sugar glider groups reinforce social bonds, with individuals spending considerable time cleaning each other and engaging in play that strengthens relationships. In captivity, sugar gliders have become popular exotic pets, though their complex social needs and nocturnal activity patterns make them challenging to keep properly. The sight of a sugar glider launching into a glide, membrane spread wide as it sails through darkness, captures the diversity of solutions evolution has found for the problem of moving through forest canopies, where falling means death and climbing everywhere would consume too much energy. The glowworm is not a worm at all, but the larva, or flightless female of a beetle, glowing with bioluminescence to attract flying males who seek out their light in the darkness. The glow produced in the glowworm's tail segments serves as advertisement and attraction, drawing males from considerable distances to females who wait motionless on vegetation or rocks. The intensity of the glow varies with temperature and the female's condition, with brighter lights indicating healthier, more fecund females, providing males with information that helps them choose optimal mates. The larvae of glowworms are predatory, hunting slugs and snails by injecting toxins that paralyze and begin digesting the prey externally before the larva consumes the liquefied meal. This carnivorous lifestyle contrasts sharply with the adult stage, which may not feed at all, existing solely to reproduce during its brief flying stage. The distribution of glowworms has declined in many areas due to light pollution, which interferes with the ability of males to locate glowing females, demonstrating how human alterations to nighttime light can impact species in unexpected ways. In locations where glowworms remain abundant, their collective lights create magical displays on summer nights, with dozens or hundreds of tiny green lanterns dotting the darkness like terrestrial constellations. The patient glowing of a female glowworm, waiting for a male to find her light in the vastness of night, represents one of nature's many solutions to the challenge of finding mates in darkness, using chemistry and light to bridge the gap between solitary individuals. The eye taps its elongated middle finger against tree bark, listening for the hollow sounds that reveal cavities where insect larvae hide beneath the surface. This strange lemur from Madagascar possesses a suite of bizarre adaptations that make it one of the world's most unusual primates, including continually growing in sizes like a rodent, enormous ears that can move independently, and that skeletal finger used to extract prey from wood. The eye's finger can move with extraordinary speed, tapping at a rate of several times per second as it percussively forages across trees, a technique called tap foraging that it uses to echolocate prey hidden from view. Once the eye detects a cavity containing food, it uses its teeth to gnaw through the wood, then inserts its finger to hook out the larvae or insects within. This specialized feeding method allows the eye to exploit a food source few other animals can access, filling an ecological niche similar to woodpeckers, though using completely different tools and techniques. The nocturnal lifestyle of the eye includes spending days sleeping in spherical nests built from leaves and branches high in the forest canopy. Eyes are solitary foragers, with individuals maintaining large home ranges that overlap with others of their species, meetings occurring occasionally but most time being spent alone. The eye's appearance, particularly its large reflective eyes and strange finger, has unfortunately led to superstitious fear in some Malagasy communities, with the animals sometimes killed as harbingers of bad luck. This persecution, combined with habitat loss, has made the eye an endangered species, though conservation efforts work to protect remaining populations. The eye demonstrates how evolution can produce bizarre solutions to ecological challenges, creating an animal so strange it seems imaginary yet so perfectly adapted to its niche that every odd feature makes sense. The katydid produces its characteristic calls through stridulation, similar to crickets, creating sounds that can vary from rhythmic chirps to long trills depending on the species. These calls, produced primarily by males, serve to attract females and establish territories, with some species producing sounds so loud they can be painful to human ears at close range. The hearing organs of katydids, located on their front legs like those of crickets, allow them to detect and locate the calls of potential mates or rivals in the darkness. Katydids are masters of camouflage, with many species resembling leaves in color, shape, and even venation, making them nearly invisible when resting on vegetation during the day. Some katydids have evolved to resemble dead or diseased leaves, complete with holes and spots that mimic fungal infections, taking camouflage to levels of almost absurd precision. The diet of katydids varies by species, with some being herbivorous and feeding on leaves, flowers, or seeds, while others are predatory and hunt other insects. The life cycle includes incomplete metamorphosis, with young katydids resembling small adults rather than going through a caterpillar-like larval stage. The long antennae of katydids, often exceeding the body length by several times, help them navigate through vegetation and detect chemical signals in the environment. Katydids contribute to the soundscape of summer nights in temperate and tropical regions, their varied calls adding layers to the acoustic tapestry woven by insects. The diversity of katydid species, numbering in the thousands worldwide, showcases evolution's creativity in filling ecological niches, with each species adapting to specific plants, habitats, and lifestyles, while maintaining the basic katydid body plan. The pangolin shuffles through tropical nights on short legs, its body covered in overlapping scales that make it appear more reptilian than mammalian. This covering of keratinous scales, the same material that forms human fingernails, provides protection from predators, with pangolins rolling into tight balls when threatened, presenting would-be attackers with nothing but armored scales impossible to bite through. The pangolin's diet consists almost entirely of ants and termites, which it harvests using a sticky tongue that can extend longer than its entire body, reaching deep into insect colonies to extract meals. Pangolins lack teeth entirely, instead having muscular stomachs containing small stones that grind up the insects they consume, a digestive strategy similar to birds, though evolved independently. The sense of smell guides pangolins to insect colonies, with poor eyesight playing little role in locating food in their dim world. Pangolins are solitary animals, coming together only to breed, with mothers caring for young pangolins that ride on their tails during foraging expeditions. The conservation status of pangolins is precarious, with all species threatened by hunting for their meat and scales, which are used in traditional medicine despite having no proven therapeutic properties beyond those of chewing on your own fingernails. Pangolins have the unfortunate distinction of being the world's most trafficked mammals, with hundreds of thousands killed annually to supply illegal markets. The prehistoric appearance of pangolins belies their vulnerability, as their defensive role, effective against natural predators, provides no protection against humans with tools and vehicles. Watching a pangolin feed, its tongue flicking in and out of a termite mound with mechanical regularity, provides a glimpse into a way of life so specialized it seems precarious. Yet pangolins have existed in essentially their current form for millions of years. A testament to the success of their unusual adaptations until humans entered the equation. The slow loris moves through the forest canopy with deliberate caution, its large eyes scanning the darkness for food and danger, as it progresses along branches at a pace that gives the animal its name. These small primates possess a toxic bite, rare among mammals, produced when secretions from glands near their elbows mix with saliva to create a compound that can cause severe allergic reactions and painful wounds. The slow loris grooms this toxin into its fur, making itself unpalatable to predators and protecting its young, who receive the coating from their mother's licking. The enormous eyes of the slow loris gather light efficiently, providing excellent night vision that allows precise movement through the three-dimensional maze of branches and leaves. Slow lorises are primarily solitary, with individuals maintaining territories that they mark with urine and scent glands. Though home ranges of males and females often overlap, their diet includes tree sap, nectar, fruits, and insects, with the slow loris using its strong grip to hang from branches while reaching for food with its hands and mouth. The illegal pet trade has devastated slow loris populations, with videos of seemingly cute captive animals being petted going viral on social media, unaware viewers not realizing that the animal's arms-up posture is actually a defensive threat display, and that the slow loris is terrified. The teeth of captured slow lorises are often clipped or pulled out without anesthesia to prevent them from biting their captors, a cruel practice that dooms the animals to painful infections and inability to eat properly. Conservation efforts work to educate people about the reality of slow lorises as wild animals unsuitable for captivity, and to stop the trade that has brought several species to the brink of extinction. The slow loris's patient movement through nighttime forests represents a survival strategy refined over millions of years, but no amount of evolutionary time could prepare these animals for the threat posed by humans who see their wide-eyed appearance and think pet, rather than recognizing the wild creature that should be left in peace. The lunar moth caterpillar, before its transformation into the ethereal adult, feeds voraciously on leaves, while defended by irritating hairs and bright warning coloration that advertises its unpalatability. The caterpillar stage lasts several weeks, during which the larva molts multiple times, each time emerging larger and more colorful, building the energy reserves that will sustain its brief adult life. When the time comes for metamorphosis, the caterpillar spins a cocoon attached to a twig, wrapping itself in silk and beginning the remarkable transformation that will convert crawling larva into flying adult. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar's body essentially dissolves, breaking down into a cellular soup from which the adult moth's structures form. A process so radical it seems more like magic than biology. The cocoon includes a one-way valve that allows the emerging moth to exit, but prevents predators from entering. a clever architectural feature built into the silk structure. The timing of emergence is carefully regulated, with adult moths typically breaking free from their cocoons in early morning hours, when birds are less active, and when conditions are calm enough for their crumpled wings to dry and expand properly. The brief window between emergence and flight readiness makes the new adult vulnerable, as it must hang motionless while hemolymph pumps into wing veins, slowly inflating the wings to their full, magnificent span. The transformation from leaf-eating caterpillar to flower-sipping moth represents one of nature's most complete metamorphoses, though in the lunar moth's case, the flower-sipping never occurs, as the adult possesses no mouthparts and never feeds, living entirely on stored reserves from its caterpillar days. The barn owl's hunting strategy involves patrolling open areas in methodical search patterns, quartering back and forth across fields while listening for the sounds of potential prey below. The asymmetrical ear placement allows the owl to determine both the horizontal and vertical location of sounds, creating a three-dimensional acoustic map that guides its strike. When the owl hears prey, it adjusts its flight path with subtle movements, homing in on the sound source with corrections made continuously until it drops into a final strike. The talons of the owl hit with surprising force for such a light bird, with the impact typically killing prey immediately through a combination of talon penetration and crushing force. The barn owl swallows small prey whole, later regurgitating pellets containing the indigestible fur and bones. These pellets accumulating beneath regular roosts and providing scientists with detailed information about the owl's diet. A single barn owl pair can consume thousands of rodents in a year, making them valuable for natural pest control in agricultural areas where rodent populations can cause significant crop damage. The ghostly appearance of barn owls, combined with their silent flight and eerie screeching calls, has made them subjects of superstition and folklore in many cultures, sometimes feared and sometimes revered. Despite their association with human structures like barns and church towers, barn owls remain fundamentally wild and are sensitive to disturbance, particularly during nesting, when human interference can cause nest abandonment. The heart-shaped face that makes barn owls so distinctive and appealing serves as a sophisticated sound-collecting device, demonstrating how even features we interpret as aesthetic have evolved to serve crucial survival functions. The nightcrawler emerges from its burrow when darkness and moisture conditions are right, pulling its long body partially from the ground to forage for dead leaves and organic matter on the soil surface. These large earthworms play crucial roles in soil health, creating channels that aerate the earth and allow water penetration, while their castings add nutrients that benefit plant growth. The sensitivity of nightcrawlers to light and vibration protects them from predators, with the worms quickly retreating into their burrows when they detect threats. The mucus coating that covers a nightcrawler's body helps it move through soil and keeps its skin moist for the gas exchange that serves as respiration, as earthworms breathe through their skin rather than possessing lungs. Nightcrawlers are hermaphroditic, with each individual possessing both male and female reproductive organs, though they still must mate with another worm to reproduce, exchanging sperm in a process that can take hours. The cocoons that nightcrawlers produce contain multiple eggs, though typically only one or two young emerge from each cocoon, taking months to mature into reproductive adults. The populations of nightcrawlers in northern regions are often not native but introduced, with the original earthworms eliminated by glaciation and the current populations descended from worms brought by European colonizers in ship ballast and potted plants. In forests where earthworms were absent for thousands of years, their introduction has dramatically changed soil structure and forest ecology, demonstrating that even small creatures can have ecosystem-level impacts when introduced to new environments. The simple life of the nightcrawler, eating dead leaves and burrowing through darkness, connects the surface world to the subterranean realm, mixing organic matter into soil and facilitating the nutrient cycles that support all terrestrial life. The kiwi bird bustles through New Zealand forests on strong legs, using its long bill to probe the ground for invertebrates, a feeding strategy more similar to mammals than to most birds. These flightless birds have evolved into a nocturnal lifestyle unusual for birds, with adaptations including whiskers near the bill base that help them navigate in darkness and nostrils positioned at the bill tip rather than near the base like most birds. The kiwi's sense of smell is exceptional for a bird, allowing it to detect earthworms and other prey hidden underground, essentially hunting by scent in a way that reverses typical bird hunting strategies. The eggs of kiwis are enormous relative to the female's body size, sometimes weighing a quarter of the mother's body weight, making kiwi eggs the largest in proportion to body size of any bird. Producing and laying such a large egg requires immense energy investment, and the female must eat several times her normal food intake during egg development to fuel the process. Male kiwis incubate the eggs and care for the chicks after hatching, with the female's involvement minimal after the exhausting process of egg production. The chicks are born relatively well developed and must fend for themselves soon after hatching, receiving only brief parental guidance before beginning independent lives. Kiwis are monogamous, with pairs maintaining long-term bonds and defending territories together, their loud, piercing calls echoing through forests at night as they communicate with mates and warn off intruders. The unique adaptations of kiwis reflect their evolution in New Zealand's isolated ecosystems, where no native land mammals existed until human arrival, allowing birds to fill ecological niches that mammals occupy elsewhere. Conservation efforts have helped some kiwi species recover from population declines caused by introduced predators like stoats and cats, though kiwis remain vulnerable and require ongoing protection to ensure their survival. The European hamster emerges from its extensive burrow system after dark to forage for seeds, grains, and other plant material, stuffing its expandable cheek pouches until they bulge comically before returning underground to store the food. These wild hamsters bear little resemblance to the small, domesticated Syrian hamsters common as pets, being considerably larger and more aggressive when cornered. The burrow systems of European hamsters are architectural marvels, including separate chambers for sleeping, storing food, defecating, and raising young, with multiple entrances providing escape routes if predators invade. During summer and autumn, hamsters work tirelessly to collect food, with a single burrow stores sometimes containing dozens of pounds of seeds and grains, enough to sustain the hamster through winter hibernation. The hibernation of European hamsters is deep and prolonged, with body temperature dropping and metabolism slowing to conserve energy, though the hamsters wake periodically to eat from their stored food before returning to dormancy. The agricultural practices of modern Europe have severely impacted European hamster populations, with the species now endangered or extinct in many parts of its former range. The conflict between hamsters and farmers stems from the hamsters' attraction to grain fields, where they collect crops for their own use, though the actual impact on yields is minimal compared to other causes of crop loss. Conservation programs work to protect remaining hamster populations while finding ways for agricultural practices to coexist with these burrow-dwelling rodents. The industrious nature of the hamster, working through summer nights to prepare for winter, reflects a life strategy focused on preparation and survival through careful resource management, an approach that served the species well for millennia, but struggles to adapt to landscapes transformed by industrial agriculture. The sphinx moth hovers before flowers in darkness, its long proboscis extending deep into blossoms to sip nectar, while the moth's wings beat so rapidly they become a blur. This hovering flight requires enormous energy expenditure, with the moth's metabolic rates rivaling those of hummingbirds, the only birds that feed in a similar manner. The sphinx moth's wings beat faster than the human eye can track, creating a low humming sound that gives some species the name hawk moth for their resemblance to tiny hawks when seen in silhouette. The caterpillars of sphinx moths often bear horn-like projections on their rear ends, giving them the name hornworms and making them distinctive, though the horn is harmless and purely decorative. Many sphinx moths engage in long-distance migration, with some species traveling hundreds or thousands of miles between breeding areas and overwintering sites, navigating by methods that remain incompletely understood. The aerodynamic efficiency of sphinx moth flight has inspired engineers studying ways to build small flying robots, as the moths demonstrate remarkable stability and maneuverability, despite their relatively large size and rapid wing beats. Some sphinx moth species have evolved to feed on flowers that open only at night and produce scent, specifically to attract moth pollinators, creating specialized relationships where plant and pollinator depend on each other. The scales covering a sphinx moth's body and wings create the colors and patterns we see, with each scale being a single color and the overall pattern emerging from thousands of scales arranged like tiles in a mosaic. When a sphinx moth visits flowers, pollen adheres to its body and is carried to the next flower, facilitating plant reproduction while the moth obtains the nectar it needs for energy, a mutualistic relationship that benefits both species. The brown, long-eared bat possesses ears nearly as long as its body, massive structures that provide exceptional hearing sensitivity and allow the bat to detect even the quietest sounds made by prey. These bats hunt insects by gleaning, plucking prey directly from leaves and bark rather than catching them in flight, using their enormous ears to detect the faint sounds of insects moving or even breathing. The flight of long-eared bats is highly maneuverable, allowing them to navigate through dense vegetation and hover briefly while picking insects from surfaces, demonstrating precision that requires sophisticated neural processing and motor control. During the day, these bats roost in buildings, trees, or caves, often folding their large ears back along their bodies or curling them like ram's horns to reduce heat loss and protect the delicate ear structures. Long-eared bats are among the most vocal bats in flight, producing audible chirps and twittering sounds, in addition to their ultrasonic echolocation calls, suggesting complex social communication. The mating behavior of long-eared bats includes song, with males producing elaborate vocal displays to attract females, a behavior rare among bats, but suggesting that acoustic communication plays larger roles in their social lives than in species with less elaborate vocalizations. Females form maternity colonies, where they give birth and raise their pups communally, with the young bats capable of flight at around 3 weeks old but remaining dependent on their mothers for several more weeks. The conservation status of brown long-eared bats is generally stable, though like all bats they face threats from habitat loss, disturbance of roosts, and pesticide use that reduces insect prey populations. The adaptation that defines these bats, their remarkable ears, demonstrates how evolution can emphasize particular traits to extreme degrees when the advantages outweigh the costs, creating animals whose appearance seems almost cartoonish, yet whose success proves the value of specialized adaptations. The wood frog's ability to survive freezing solid during winter represents one of nature's most remarkable physiological adaptations, with up to 70% of the frog's body water turning to ice without killing it. As temperatures drop, wood frogs seek shelter under leaf litter and begin producing glucose and urea that acts as antifreeze, protecting their cells from ice crystal damage even as ice forms in spaces between cells. The frog's breathing and heartbeat stop completely during freezing, with no blood flow or brain activity, creating a state that resembles death, yet is reversible when spring arrives. When temperatures warm, the ice in the frog's body melts, and within hours the heart begins beating again, breathing resumes, and the frog thaws back to active life. This freeze tolerance allows wood frogs to inhabit regions where most amphibians cannot survive, extending their range far into northern territories, where winter cold would kill less adapted species. The breeding behavior of wood frogs is explosive, with hundreds or thousands of individuals gathering at temporary pools as soon as ice melts, creating a brief period of intense reproductive activity. The male's calls fill the air near breeding pools, a sound often described as resembling quacking ducks, as they compete to attract females and establish mating positions. Females lay masses of eggs that develop rapidly in the temporary pools, with tadpoles metamorphosing into small frogs within a few months, a compressed life cycle necessary because the pools dry up by midsummer. The wood frog's adaptations to cold represent an extreme solution to environmental challenges, pushing the limits of what vertebrate physiology can accomplish, and demonstrating that apparent barriers like freezing temperatures can be overcome through evolutionary innovation. The small brown frog thawing in spring, returning to life after months of being frozen solid, embodies resilience and the remarkable plasticity of biological systems. The whip-poor-will's name comes from its distinctive call, repeated endlessly through summer nights, with a rhythm that becomes almost hypnotic to those listening in the darkness. These members of the nightjar family hunt flying insects using the same large-mouthed aerial hawking technique as their relatives, opening their mouths wide to scoop moths and beetles from the air. The camouflage of whip-poor-wills is so effective that people can stand within feet of a roosting bird without seeing it, the mottled gray and brown plumage blending perfectly with leaf litter and bark. Whip-poor-wills time their breeding to coincide with peak insect abundance and favorable moon phases, with studies suggesting they prefer to nest when moonlight will be available during the period when they're feeding hungry nestlings. The eggs are laid directly on the ground with no nest construction, and the female's camouflage extends to brooding behavior, where she sits motionless, even as observers approach within touching distance. If a predator discovers the nest, the adult may perform distraction displays, feigning injury to lure the threat away from eggs or chicks, in a behavior common among ground nesting birds. The population decline of whip-poor-wills in many parts of their range has raised conservation concerns, with habitat loss and insecticide use reducing both breeding sites and food availability. The cultural significance of whip-poor-will calls varies geographically, with some folklore considering them omens, while others simply recognize them as signals that summer has arrived. The persistence of whip-poor-wills calling through the night, sometimes thousands of repetitions without pause, demonstrates stamina and determination, as males advertise their presence and quality to females who choose mates based partly on calling endurance. The voice of the whip-poor-will, floating through darkness and giving the bird its name, connects modern listeners to a sound that has marked summer nights for millennia, a continuous thread of avian persistence, speaking across centuries. The colossal squid drifts through the deep ocean darkness, its enormous eyes, the largest of any animal, gathering what little light penetrates to the depths where it lives. These eyes, measuring up to 11 inches in diameter, are optimized for detecting the bioluminescence produced by prey and predators in the dark waters far below the surface. The hunting strategy of colossal squid remains largely mysterious, as encounters with living specimens are extraordinarily rare, with most knowledge coming from dead or dying individuals caught accidentally or washed ashore. The tentacles of colossal squid are equipped with rotating hooks, in addition to the suction cups common to other squid species, suggesting a different hunting or defensive strategy than their relatives employ. The beak of the colossal squid is powerful enough to cut through steel cable, though whether this strength is used primarily for processing prey or for defense remains debated among scientists. The size of colossal squid is difficult to determine with certainty, as most specimens have been damaged before scientific examination, but estimates suggest they may reach lengths approaching 45 feet when tentacles are extended. These squid inhabit the waters around Antarctica, living at depths where pressure is crushing and temperatures hover near freezing, requiring physiological adaptations to function in these extreme conditions. The role of colossal squid in deep-sea ecosystems is incompletely understood, though they appear to be important prey for sperm whales, which hunt them in deep dives and often bear scars from squid hooks on their skin. The bioluminescence that colossal squid can produce may serve various functions, from attracting prey to communicating with potential mates, to confusing predators in the darkness, where light is the exception rather than the rule. The mystery surrounding colossal squid speaks to how little we know about deep ocean ecosystems, with one of the ocean's largest predators remaining largely unknown, simply because it lives in a realm humans rarely access. The fennec fox emerges from its burrow as the desert cools at night, its enormous ears helping to dissipate heat, and detect the subtle sounds of insects and small animals moving across sand. These tiny foxes, the smallest canids in the world, have adapted to desert life through multiple mechanisms, including kidney efficiency that allows them to survive with minimal water intake. The fur covering the fennec's feet provides insulation from hot sand during the day and creates a surface that distributes weight, preventing the fox from sinking into loose sand while hunting. The social structure of fennec foxes includes family groups living in connected burrow systems, with multiple generations sometimes sharing the same complex of tunnels and chambers. Communication between fennec foxes includes a variety of vocalizations, from barks to purrs to screams, with different calls used in different contexts, from warning of danger to maintaining contact with family members. The diet of fennec foxes is omnivorous, including insects, small mammals, birds, eggs, and plant material, with the foxes obtaining most of their water from their food, rather than drinking directly. The enormous ears that define the fennec's appearance serve multiple functions beyond heat dissipation, providing exceptional hearing that allows the detection of prey moving underground or hidden beneath vegetation. Fennec foxes have become popular in the exotic pet trade, though like most wild animals they are poorly suited to captivity and face stress and health problems when removed from their natural environment. The nocturnal lifestyle of fennec foxes allows them to avoid the worst desert heat, while remaining active in temperatures that would be comfortable to humans, demonstrating how temporal niche partitioning allows animals to inhabit seemingly inhospitable environments. The image of a fennec fox hunting in moonlit dunes, ears swiveling to track sounds and body held low to the sand, captures the elegance of adaptations refined over millennia in one of Earth's harshest environments. The mantis shrimp inhabits burrows in coral reefs and coastal areas, emerging primarily at night to hunt or scavenge, depending on species-specific strategies. These crustaceans possess the most complex eyes known in the animal kingdom, with up to 16 types of color receptors, compared to humans' 3, allowing them to see colors and polarized light patterns completely invisible to us. The hunting appendages of mantis shrimp come in two main forms: either club-like smashers that deliver blows with the force of a bullet, or spear-like stabbers that impale prey with lightning speed. The speed of a mantis shrimp strike is among the fastest movements in the animal kingdom, with the clubs of smasher species accelerating faster than a bullet from a gun and creating cavitation bubbles that produce light and heat upon collapse. This incredible strike allows mantis shrimp to crack open shells of snails and crabs, or stun fish with the shockwave from their punch, even if direct contact misses. The burrows that mantis shrimp construct and defend are crucial territory, with individuals fighting viciously to maintain possession of desirable holes in reef structures. The communication between mantis shrimp includes visual displays using their colorful bodies and fluorescent markings visible in ultraviolet light, creating a communication channel in the light spectrum humans cannot perceive without special equipment. Mantis shrimp are generally solitary except during breeding, with males and females coming together briefly for mating before parting ways, though some species form monogamous pairs that share burrows. The eggs are carried by the female or tended in the burrow until they hatch into planktonic larvae that drift in open water before settling and metamorphosing into the adult form. The combination of extraordinary vision, devastating striking power, and complex behavior makes mantis shrimp among the ocean's most remarkable predators, demonstrating that innovation in sensory systems and weaponry is not limited to vertebrates. The vampire bat emerges from its roost in caves or hollow trees as darkness falls, flying out to search for sleeping mammals whose blood will provide the bat's unusual meal. These bats possess heat sensors in their noses that detect the warmth of blood flowing near the skin surface, helping them locate optimal feeding sites on their prey. The teeth of vampire bats include sharp incisors that make small cuts in the skin, with the bat then lapping the blood that flows from the wound rather than sucking it like a mosquito. The saliva of vampire bats contains an anticoagulant that keeps blood flowing while they feed, a compound so effective that medical researchers have studied it for potential use in treating stroke and heart attack victims. Vampire bats feed for only 20 to 30 minutes per night, consuming about 2 tablespoons of blood, an amount that rarely harms their prey, though it can spread diseases like rabies in regions where the virus is present. The social structure of vampire bat colonies includes food sharing, where bats who successfully fed will regurgitate blood to share with roostmates who fail to find food, a form of reciprocal altruism rare among mammals. This food sharing is directed preferentially toward relatives and regular social partners, with bats apparently remembering who shared with them in the past and reciprocating accordingly. Vampire bats can recognize individual colony members by voice and scent, maintaining complex social relationships within roosts that may contain hundreds of individuals. The locomotion of vampire bats includes surprising agility on the ground, with the bats able to walk and even jump using a unique gait powered by their forelimbs, an adaptation that helps them approach prey stealthily. Despite their fearsome reputation fueled by folklore and fiction, vampire bats are small animals about the size of a human thumb, posing minimal threat to humans, though their potential to transmit disease means encounters should be avoided and bites treated seriously. The eel's migration from freshwater rivers to the Sargasso Sea to breed represents one of nature's great journeys, with the fish traveling thousands of miles to spawn in the same deep ocean area where they themselves were born. The young eels, called glass eels for their transparency, drift on ocean currents for months or years before arriving at coastal areas where they transform into elvers that begin swimming upstream. The eel's ability to navigate across vast distances using methods that remain incompletely understood suggests sensitivity to Earth's magnetic field or other environmental cues that guide them to specific locations. During their time in rivers and lakes, eels are primarily nocturnal, hiding during the day and emerging at night to hunt fish, crustaceans, and other prey using their excellent sense of smell. The lifespan of eels can extend for decades, with some individuals remaining in fresh water for 20 years or more, before undergoing the transformation that prepares them for the return journey to the sea. This transformation includes changes in coloration, eye enlargement for deep-sea vision, and physiological adaptations for ocean living, essentially converting the eel from a freshwater to a saltwater organism. The spawning grounds in the Sargasso Sea remain somewhat mysterious, as adult eels have never been directly observed there, with scientists inferring the location from the distribution of the smallest larvae. After spawning, the adult eels die, having completed their life cycle and passed on their genes to the next generation that will drift back toward the coasts and begin the cycle anew. The population declines of European and American eels have raised conservation concerns, with barriers to migration, pollution, and overfishing of glass eels for food reducing numbers dramatically. The mystery of eel migration, their transformation from freshwater to saltwater forms, and their impressive lifespan make them among the most fascinating fish, connecting river systems to open ocean through journeys that span continents and decades. The jerboa bounces across desert sands, on hind legs like a tiny kangaroo, using its long tail for balance as it forages through the night for seeds and insects. These small rodents have adapted to desert life through extreme water conservation, producing highly concentrated urine and obtaining all necessary moisture from their food without ever drinking. The enormous hind legs of jerboas provide explosive jumping ability, allowing them to escape predators with leaps covering distances many times their body length. The fur covering a jerboa's feet creates a surface that helps them move across loose sand without sinking, while also providing some insulation from temperature extremes. Jerboas spend daylight hours in sealed burrows where they remain cool and conserve water, only emerging when darkness brings cooler temperatures suitable for activity. The hearing of jerboas is acute, with large ears detecting the approach of predators like owls and foxes that hunt them, providing warning that can mean the difference between life and death. Some jerboa species have evolved incredibly long tails, exceeding twice their body length, which provide stability during the rapid directional changes they employ to evade predators. The social structure of jerboas varies by species, with some being solitary and others living in loose colonies where multiple individuals maintain nearby burrows. The population dynamics of jerboas can fluctuate dramatically based on rainfall and seed production, with boom years following good rains and crash years when drought reduces food availability. The adaptation of jerboas to desert environments demonstrates how body form can be radically altered to suit specific ecological challenges, creating animals that look implausible yet function perfectly in their harsh environment. The anglerfish of the deep sea carries its own light source, a bioluminescent lure dangling in front of its mouth to attract prey in the perpetual darkness where it lives. The lure contains symbiotic bacteria that produce light through chemical reactions, a partnership where the fish provides nutrients and the bacteria provide illumination. Female anglerfish are the ones who possess the lure and grow to relatively large size, while males are tiny and parasitic, attaching to females permanently and fusing their circulatory systems together. This extreme sexual dimorphism represents one of the most unusual reproductive strategies in nature, with the male essentially becoming a permanently attached sperm factory that the female can use to fertilize her eggs without needing to find a mate in the dark vastness of the deep sea. The teeth of anglerfish are long and recurved, designed to prevent prey from escaping once they bite at the lure and find themselves snapped up by jaws that lie in wait. The metabolism of deep-sea anglerfish is slow, adapted to an environment where food is scarce, and opportunities to feed may be separated by long periods of hunger. The body of an anglerfish is mostly mouth and stomach, with minimal muscle tissue and reduced bone density, adaptations that decrease energy requirements and allow the fish to drift slowly through the water rather than actively swimming. The pressure at the depths where anglerfish live would crush most organisms, requiring special adaptations in cell structure and protein function that allow life to persist in conditions that seem fundamentally hostile. The diverse species of anglerfish have evolved numerous variations on the basic theme of lure fishing in darkness, with different lure shapes, body sizes, and hunting strategies, creating a radiation of species throughout the deep ocean. The anglerfish's bizarre appearance and lifestyle capture the alien nature of deep-sea environments, where darkness and pressure have driven evolution in directions impossible in the sunlit surface waters. The tardigrade, also called the water bear, moves through films of water on moss and lichen, with a slow, deliberate gait that gives it a bear-like appearance under the microscope. These microscopic animals possess survival abilities that seem almost supernatural, capable of withstanding temperatures from near absolute zero to well above boiling radiation doses that would kill most organisms, and even the vacuum of space. When conditions become unfavorable, tardigrades enter a state called cryptobiosis, essentially shutting down all metabolic processes and losing up to 99% of their body water to become a dried husk that can persist for years or even decades. Upon rehydration, tardigrades revive within hours, resuming normal activity as though no time had passed, their cellular machinery repairing any damage accumulated during dormancy. The ability to survive such extremes comes from special proteins that protect cellular structures during desiccation and from DNA repair mechanisms that fix radiation damage with remarkable efficiency. Tardigrades feed by piercing plant cells or small invertebrates with their stylets and sucking out the contents, a simple but effective feeding strategy for organisms measuring less than a millimeter in length. The reproduction of tardigrades includes both sexual and asexual modes depending on species, with some populations consisting entirely of females who produce offspring without fertilization. The life cycle from egg to adult can take as little as 2 weeks under favorable conditions, allowing rapid population growth when resources are abundant. Tardigrades inhabit almost every environment on Earth where water is at least periodically available, from the deepest oceans to the highest mountains, from tropical rainforests to Antarctic valleys. The discovery that tardigrades can survive space exposure has made them subjects of astrobiological research, examining the limits of life and the possibility of organisms surviving interplanetary travel. The tardigrade's existence challenges our assumptions about what life requires and how resilient biological systems can be, demonstrating that evolution can solve problems in ways that seem to defy the fundamental rules we think govern living things. The coyote's howl carries across nighttime landscapes, a sound used to locate pack members, define territories, and strengthen social bonds between individuals. These adaptable canids have expanded their range dramatically in recent centuries, moving into regions where they were historically absent, and even colonizing cities where they hunt rats, rabbits, and raid garbage with opportunistic efficiency. Coyotes are primarily crepuscular and nocturnal, though in areas where they feel safe from human persecution, they may be active during the day as well. The intelligence of coyotes manifests in their ability to learn from experience, avoid traps and poisons that killed previous generations, and adapt their behavior to exploit new food sources and habitats. The diet of coyotes is omnivorous to an extreme degree, including small mammals, birds, insects, fruits, and carrion, with individual coyotes showing preferences for particular foods, but maintaining flexibility to switch based on availability. Social structure varies from solitary individuals to family groups to larger packs, with organization depending on food abundance and population density. The reproductive strategy of coyotes includes monogamous pair bonds that often last for years, with both parents participating in pup rearing and sometimes being assisted by older offspring from previous litters. Coyotes can interbreed with dogs and wolves, producing hybrid offspring that combine traits from both parents. Though whether these hybrids represent threats to genetic integrity or simply evolutionary flexibility remains debated. The persecution of coyotes through hunting, trapping, and poisoning has generally failed to control populations and may actually increase reproductive rates through compensatory mechanisms where remaining coyotes produce larger litters. The success of coyotes in the face of intensive human efforts to eliminate them demonstrates resilience and adaptability, with the species thriving in the Anthropocene while many other predators decline or disappear. The howl of a coyote heard in suburban neighborhoods or city parks reminds us that wildness persists even in human-dominated landscapes, adapting and enduring despite our best efforts to exclude it. The Japanese giant salamander lurks in cold mountain streams, a prehistoric-looking amphibian that can reach lengths exceeding 5 feet and weights of over 50 pounds. These salamanders are primarily nocturnal, spending days hidden under rocks or in burrows and emerging at night to hunt fish, crustaceans, and aquatic insects. The giant salamander's skin is highly vascularized, allowing it to absorb oxygen directly from the water, supplementing the small, inefficient lungs that provide only a portion of its respiratory needs. The wrinkled, baggy appearance of the salamander's skin increases surface area for gas exchange, demonstrating how even features that seem like aesthetic flaws serve crucial physiological functions. Giant salamanders can live for decades, with some individuals estimated to be over 70 years old, though aging these animals is difficult due to the lack of clear aging markers like tree rings or otoliths. The breeding behavior of giant salamanders involves males defending nest sites in underwater cavities, with multiple females potentially laying eggs in the same nest that the male then guards and aerates by fanning water over them. The larvae that hatch from these eggs undergo a lengthy development period, gradually metamorphosing into the adult form over several years. The conservation status of Japanese giant salamanders is concerning, with habitat loss, dam construction, and water pollution reducing populations in many streams where they once thrived. Cultural significance in Japan has provided some protection, with the salamanders considered living fossils worthy of preservation, though whether conservation efforts will be sufficient remains uncertain. The giant salamander's survival as a species, essentially unchanged for millions of years, speaks to the success of their adaptations, though no amount of evolutionary refinement can protect them from rapid human-caused environmental changes. The sight of a giant salamander gliding through dark stream water like a swimming log, ancient and patient, connects modern observers to a lineage that predates most familiar animals, a living link to ages long past. The lunar moth's brief adult life unfolds in a compressed drama of emergence, mating, and death, with every hour precious in the race to reproduce before energy reserves deplete. The male moths fly through darkness following pheromone trails, their large feathery antennae detecting molecules at concentrations of just a few parts per trillion. When a male locates a female, mating may last for hours, with the pair remaining joined while perched on vegetation, vulnerable but committed to the process of genetic exchange. After mating, females begin laying eggs, depositing them on the leaves of host plants, where the resulting caterpillars will feed, the female somehow knowing which plants are appropriate, despite having never eaten as an adult. The hundreds of eggs a female may lay represent her entire reproductive output, each one a potential adult moth, though only a tiny fraction will survive the hazards of caterpillar and pupal life. The adult moth's inability to eat means their entire existence is fueled by reserves accumulated during the caterpillar stage, making that larval feeding period the foundation for everything that follows. The beauty of lunar moths, with their pale green wings and long tails, serves no aesthetic purpose but rather emerges as a side effect of wing structure and scales that primarily function for thermal regulation and flight. The brief appearance of lunar moths in early summer creates a moment of magic in temperate forests, with their ethereal beauty and fragile existence, reminding observers of life's brevity and the compression of experience that defines many species' adult stages. The death of a lunar moth after just days of life might seem tragic to human observers, but the moth has accomplished everything its evolution prepared it for, passing genes forward and completing a cycle that has repeated for millions of years. The discarded wings of dead lunar moths, found on forest floors or caught in spider webs, persist long after the soft body has decomposed, delicate membranes that outlast the life they once powered, and speak silently of beauty and transience intertwined. The potu sits motionless on a branch through the day, positioned to resemble a broken stump with such perfection that predators and prey alike pass without noticing the bird. These relatives of nightjars have evolved camouflage to extraordinary degrees, with plumage, posture, and even the angle at which they rest all contributing to the illusion of dead wood. The large eyes of potus are adapted for nocturnal vision, though even while the bird appears to sleep during the day, slits in the closed eyelids allow it to monitor its surroundings for threats. As darkness falls, the potu transforms from statue to hunter, leaving its perch to catch flying insects in sallying flights, where it launches out, snaps up prey, and returns to its perch in a matter of seconds. The mouth of a potu opens to a width that seems impossible for the size of its head, creating a gape that can capture even large moths and beetles with minimal pursuit necessary. Potus are found in Central and South America, with several species occupying different habitats and elevations, each specialized for its particular environment. The calls of potus are haunting and melancholy, often described as some of the most eerie sounds in tropical forests, with long mournful notes that carry through the darkness and have inspired local legends and folklore. The single egg that potus lay is placed directly on top of a branch stub with no nest structure, relying entirely on the parent's camouflage to protect it from discovery during incubation. The chick that hatches is covered in white down that makes it look like a fungal growth on the branch. Camouflage adapted to its vulnerable nestling stage, rather than mimicking the adult pattern. The potu's strategy of stillness and camouflage represents an alternative to more active predator avoidance, demonstrating that sometimes the best defense is to become invisible by resembling something of no interest to those who might do harm. The genet moves through African and European landscapes with feline grace, though it is not a cat, but rather a member of the vivarid family related to civets and mongooses. These spotted mammals are primarily nocturnal and arboreal, spending much of their time in trees where they hunt rodents, birds, and insects with agility that rivals any tree-dwelling predator. The retractable claws of genets allow them to climb with confidence and catch prey with precision, while their long tails provide balance during acrobatic pursuits through branches. Genets are solitary hunters, maintaining territories that they mark with scent from glands near their tails, creating olfactory boundaries that inform neighbors of their presence and claim to the area. The diet of genets includes both animal prey and fruit, with the mix varying seasonally and individually, some genets showing strong preferences, while others remain generalized in their feeding. The distinctive spotted coat pattern varies between genet species, with some having large bold spots and others showing smaller rosettes, each pattern providing camouflage in their specific habitats. Genets are sometimes kept as pets, or encouraged to live in human structures where they control rodent populations, a tradition dating back centuries in some cultures. The vocalizations of genets include purrs, growls, and spitting sounds, similar to those of cats, though genets are not closely related to felines, demonstrating how similar lifestyles can produce similar behaviors through convergent evolution. The reproduction of genets involves seasonal breeding in some regions and year-round breeding in others, with females raising their kittens in secluded dens located in tree hollows, rock crevices, or abandoned burrows. The genet's combination of cat-like appearance and non-cat taxonomy reminds us that evolution produces similar solutions to similar problems independently, creating unrelated animals that look and act remarkably alike when facing comparable ecological challenges. The burrowing owl differs from most owls by being active both day and night, though it shows increased activity during crepuscular and nocturnal periods when many prey species are available. These small owls live in underground burrows, often taking over those excavated by prairie dogs or ground squirrels rather than digging their own, though they will excavate if necessary. The long legs of burrowing owls suit their terrestrial lifestyle, allowing them to walk and run across open ground in pursuit of insects and small vertebrates that form their diet. Burrowing owls often collect animal dung and place it near their burrow entrances, a behavior scientists believe may attract dung beetles that the owls then eat, demonstrating tool use and planning rare among birds. The facial expressions of burrowing owls, created by their large eyes and mobile brow feathers, make them appear comically serious or surprised, features that serve communication purposes within their species. Burrowing owl families are cooperative, with both parents hunting to feed nestlings and sometimes being assisted by offspring from previous years who remain in the territory as helpers. The calls of burrowing owls include a variety of sounds from chattering to coos, with different vocalizations used in different contexts, from alarm calls, warning of predators, to location calls, helping family members find each other. The populations of burrowing owls have declined in many regions due to habitat loss and the control programs targeting prairie dogs and ground squirrels that inadvertently eliminate the burrows that owls need. Conservation efforts include installing artificial burrows in appropriate habitats, providing nest sites where natural burrows are absent or insufficient. The sight of burrowing owls standing on prairie mounds like sentinels, their golden eyes scanning surroundings and their heads swiveling to track movement, captures something essential about the adaptability of owls as a group, with different species filling niches from deep forests to open grasslands. The lanternfish makes up a large proportion of the ocean's fish biomass, with billions of individuals engaging in daily vertical migrations that transport nutrients between deep water and surface layers. These small fish spend daylight hours at depths where little light penetrates, rising toward the surface at night to feed on zooplankton in waters rich with food. The photophores along their bodies produce bioluminescence in patterns specific to each species, allowing individuals to recognize potential mates and coordinate schooling behavior in the darkness. The role of lanternfish in ocean food webs is crucial, as they serve as prey for larger fish, marine mammals, and seabirds, transferring energy from planktonic prey to higher trophic levels. The vertical migration of lanternfish, repeated daily by countless individuals, represents one of the largest movements of biomass on Earth. Though it occurs invisibly beneath the surface, the light organs of lanternfish may serve multiple functions beyond species recognition, potentially including predator confusion, prey attraction, or counter-shading that makes the fish less visible to predators, viewing them from below. The eyes of lanternfish are large relative to their body size, adaptations for gathering maximum light in the dim environment where they spend most of their time. The life cycle of lanternfish includes a planktonic larval stage, where young fish drift with currents before developing the swimming ability to join adult migration patterns. The commercial interest in lanternfish as a potential food source or fish meal remains controversial, with concerns that harvesting these abundant but ecologically important fish could destabilize ocean food webs. The lanternfish's existence in the vast middle layers of the ocean, neither at the surface nor at the bottom, but in the pelagic zone between, reminds us how much of Earth's biomass lives in regions humans rarely see, and how important these invisible populations are to the functioning of marine ecosystems. The nightcrawler's role in soil ecology extends beyond simple burrowing, as these earthworms drag surface organic matter down into their burrows, incorporating it into deeper soil layers, where it becomes available to plant roots and soil microorganisms. The castings that earthworms produce are richer in nutrients than the surrounding soil, with nitrogen, phosphorus, and other essential elements concentrated through passage through the worm's digestive system. The mucus earthworms secrete as they move through soil helps bind soil particles, improving soil structure and creating stable aggregates that resist erosion. The populations of earthworms in agricultural soils can number in the millions per acre, with their collective burrowing creating drainage channels that reduce waterlogging and improve root penetration. The sensitivity of earthworms to soil conditions makes them indicator species whose presence and abundance reflect soil health and the impacts of management practices like pesticide use or tillage. The nightcrawler's preference for cooler, moister conditions means they are most active during spring and fall in temperate regions, with hot, dry summers driving them deeper into soil where moisture persists. The predators of nightcrawlers include birds, mammals, and invertebrates, who hunt them at the soil surface during their nighttime foraging or dig them from burrows during the day. The fishing industry's use of nightcrawlers as bait has created a harvest industry, with worms collected from fields and lawns on humid nights when they emerge in large numbers. The introduction of European earthworm species to North American forests, where native earthworms were eliminated by glaciation, has created ecological changes still playing out, with rapid consumption of leaf litter, altering forest floor ecology, and affecting plant communities. The humble earthworm, often dismissed as simple and insignificant, demonstrates how organisms we barely notice can be fundamental to ecosystem functioning, their invisible labor supporting the productivity that sustains more visible life. The bobcat prowls through diverse habitats from forests to deserts, adapting its hunting strategies to local prey and terrain with flexibility that has allowed it to persist while larger predators have declined. These medium-sized cats are primarily nocturnal and crepuscular, using dawn and dusk hours along with nighttime darkness to hunt rabbits, rodents, and birds that form the bulk of their diet. The spotted coat of bobcats provides camouflage in dappled light, while the tufted ears may enhance hearing or serve communication purposes during encounters with other bobcats. Bobcats are solitary hunters, maintaining territories that overlap with members of the opposite sex, but that they defend against same-sex competitors. The stalking technique of bobcats involves patient waiting at game trails or near burrows, combined with slow, careful stalks that position them for explosive final rushes. The retractable claws stay sharp through protection during walking, emerging only when needed for climbing or gripping prey during strikes. Bobcats are generally silent, except during breeding season, when males and females vocalize to attract mates and establish pair bonds. The kittens are born in dens located in rock crevices, hollow logs, or thick vegetation, remaining with their mother for nearly a year while learning to hunt and survive independently. The adaptability of bobcats has allowed them to persist near human settlements, hunting in suburban edges and agricultural areas, though they remain wary of direct human contact. The conservation status of bobcats is generally stable, though fur trapping and habitat fragmentation create ongoing pressures in some regions. The bobcat's success as a predator in varied environments demonstrates that medium-sized generalist hunters may be more resilient to environmental changes than specialized or very large predators, whose requirements are more restrictive. The cookie-cutter shark takes circular plugs of flesh from whales, dolphins, and large fish using specialized teeth that work like a circular saw, leaving wounds that give the shark its name. These small sharks are bioluminescent, producing light from photophores on their undersides that may serve as camouflage through counter-illumination, making them invisible to predators, viewing them from below against the dim surface light. The feeding strategy of cookie-cutter sharks is parasitic rather than predatory, as they take non-lethal bites from animals much larger than themselves and allow the victims to heal while the shark moves on to find other prey. The teeth of cookie-cutter sharks interlock to form cutting edges, with the lower teeth particularly enlarged and designed to remain embedded in prey, while the shark twists its body to cut out a plug of tissue. The bioluminescence of cookie-cutter sharks may also attract prey, with the light mimicking small fish or squid, and drawing in curious predators that then become victims themselves. These sharks inhabit the deep ocean, rising toward the surface at night to feed in what appears to be participation in the daily vertical migration that characterizes many deep-sea animals. The eyes of cookie-cutter sharks are large and forward-facing, providing binocular vision useful for judging distances during attacks on fast-moving prey. The small size of cookie-cutter sharks, rarely exceeding 20 inches in length, allows them to be parasitic rather than predatory, taking what they need without killing prey too large to consume. The marks left by cookie-cutter sharks are found on animals ranging from great white sharks to nuclear submarines, with even human-made objects bearing the characteristic circular scars. The cookie-cutter shark's unusual feeding strategy demonstrates that evolution explores every possible way to extract energy from the environment, creating specialists that exploit niches most animals cannot access. The three-toed sloth moves through rainforest canopies with deliberate slowness, its metabolism running at rates far below those of most mammals. This slow pace conserves energy in an animal whose leaf diet provides minimal nutrition, with sloths spending up to 20 hours per day, resting or sleeping to minimize energy expenditure. The fur of sloths grows in the opposite direction from most mammals, parting along the belly rather than the back, an adaptation that allows rain to run off efficiently when the sloth hangs upside down. The greenish tinge often visible in sloth fur comes from algae growing in grooves on the hair shafts, providing camouflage that helps sloths blend with foliage. Moths live in sloth fur, with several species having evolved to specialize on this unusual habitat, laying their eggs in sloth dung and completing their life cycle in association with these slow-moving mammals. Sloths descend from trees only once per week to defecate, a behavior that seems unnecessarily risky given their vulnerability on the ground, though the reason for this pattern rather than simply defecating from the canopy remains debated. The grip strength of sloths is remarkable, with their hook-like claws allowing them to hang effortlessly even while sleeping. The tendons arranged so that hanging requires no muscular effort. The swimming ability of sloths is surprisingly good, where they can move through water much faster than they travel through trees, an ability useful in flooded forests and when crossing rivers. The nocturnal activity patterns of sloths include increased movement and feeding during night hours, though they remain slow regardless of time of day. The sloth strategy of extreme energy conservation represents an alternative to the high-energy lifestyles of most mammals, demonstrating that success can be achieved through minimizing costs rather than maximizing activity. The frogmouth sits motionless during the day, its wide, gaping mouth closed and its body pressed against a branch in a pose that mimics broken wood. These birds, related to nightjars, but in their own distinct family, hunt at night by pouncing on prey from perches rather than catching insects in flight. The diet of frogmouths includes large insects, small mammals, frogs, and even small birds, with the birds showing opportunistic feeding strategies that adjust to prey availability. The enormous mouth of a frogmouth can open to nearly the width of the bird's head, creating a gape that allows them to swallow surprisingly large prey items whole. The cryptic plumage of frogmouths, combined with their stillness and branch-mimicking posture, provides camouflage so effective that people can walk directly beneath roosting birds without noticing them. The soft feathers and relatively broad wings allow frogmouths to fly quietly, providing acoustic stealth, useful for approaching prey without alerting them to danger. Frogmouths form monogamous pairs that often remain together for multiple years, with both members of the pair participating in incubation and chick rearing. The calls of frogmouths are lower pitched than those of nightjars, with booming hoots and drumming sounds that carry through forests and established territories. The distribution of frogmouths across Australia and Southeast Asia includes multiple species, each adapted to specific habitats, from rainforests to open woodlands. The chicks of frogmouths are covered in down that makes them resemble the lichen and bark of their nesting site, extending the family's camouflage strategy to the next generation. The frogmouth's success as a sit-and-wait predator demonstrates that active hunting is not the only path to predatory success, with patience and camouflage sometimes yielding better results than energy-intensive pursuit. The firefly squid produces bioluminescence from thousands of photophores covering its body, creating displays of blue light that are among the most spectacular bioluminescent shows in the ocean. These small squid, found in the western Pacific, migrate vertically each night, rising from deep water to surface layers where they feed on small fish and plankton. The bioluminescence serves multiple purposes, including predator confusion, prey attraction, and communication with other firefly squid during mating season. During breeding season, firefly squid gather in huge numbers in certain bays, with the waters literally glowing with the light of millions of individuals, creating natural light shows that attract tourists and have inspired local festivals. The photophores can be controlled individually, allowing the squid to create patterns and adjust light intensity based on depth and behavioral context. The eyes of firefly squid are large and sensitive, capable of detecting the dim bioluminescence produced by other organisms in the deep waters where they spend their days. The life cycle of firefly squid is annual, with adults dying after breeding and young squid developing through larval stages to maturity over the course of months. The commercial fishery for firefly squid provides food for humans in Japan and other countries. With the squid considered a delicacy when prepared fresh, the aggregations of firefly squid during breeding season make them vulnerable to overfishing, requiring management to ensure sustainable harvest levels. The image of firefly squid, glowing in dark water like living stars, each individual a constellation of blue light points, captures the beauty and strangeness of bioluminescence, a phenomenon that turns the ocean into a realm of living light, where darkness is punctuated by thousands of biological lanterns. The nine-banded armadillo shuffles through southern U.S. landscapes with its nose to the ground, rooting through leaf litter for insects and other invertebrates with an urgency that suggests constant hunger. These armored mammals are primarily nocturnal, though in cooler weather they may be active during the day when temperatures are more favorable. The shell covering an armadillo's back is made of bone covered in keratin, providing protection from predators, though it is not impervious to the teeth and claws of determined attackers. When threatened, armadillos can jump several feet straight upward, a startling response that may confuse predators, and also explains why armadillos are often hit by cars as they leap into the path of vehicles. The digging ability of armadillos is prodigious, with strong claws allowing them to excavate burrows and search for food beneath the soil surface with efficiency that tears up lawns and gardens to the dismay of homeowners. The sense of smell guides armadillos to food, with they can detect insects buried several inches underground and excavate them with rapid digging. The reproduction of nine-banded armadillos includes delayed implantation, where the fertilized egg remains dormant for months before implanting and beginning development. Once implantation occurs, the single embryo splits to produce identical quadruplets, with 9 banded armadillos always giving birth to 4 genetically identical young of the same sex. The expansion of armadillo range northward over recent decades may reflect climate change, making winters mild enough for these animals to survive in regions previously too cold. The carrying of leprosy bacteria by armadillos creates a minor health concern, as armadillos are one of the few animals besides humans that can harbor the disease, though transmission to humans is rare and requires direct contact. The armadillo's prehistoric appearance and unusual reproductive biology make them among the more distinctive mammals of the Americas, armored survivors that have adapted to human-dominated landscapes with surprising success. The star-nosed mole hunts in darkness underground and in murky water, using the extraordinary sensory organ on its nose to detect prey faster than almost any other animal. The star consists of 22 fleshy appendages surrounding the nostrils, each covered with thousands of sensory receptors called Eimer's organs that detect touch with incredible sensitivity. The star-nosed mole can identify and consume small prey items in less than a quarter of a second, making decisions about edibility and manipulating food faster than the human eye can follow. This speed requires sophisticated neural processing, with the mole's brain dedicating enormous proportions to processing information from the star, creating a sensory world completely alien to our visual and auditory-dominated perception. The mole's ability to smell underwater is unique among mammals, accomplished by blowing bubbles onto objects and then inhaling them, a remarkable adaptation that allows scent-based hunting even in aquatic environments. Star-nosed moles are semi-aquatic, swimming through streams and ponds with their paddle-like forelimbs and hunting for aquatic invertebrates. Using their sensitive star, the tunnels of star-nosed moles often open underwater, providing access to aquatic hunting grounds directly from their subterranean homes. The social structure of star-nosed moles differs from many other mole species, with some evidence suggesting they may be more tolerant of conspecifics and possibly even forming loose colonies. The metabolism of star-nosed moles runs high, requiring them to eat frequently to maintain their energy levels, with daily food consumption approaching their own body weight. The star-nosed mole demonstrates how evolution can create entirely novel sensory organs when selective pressure favors new ways of perceiving the world, building structures that allow animals to exploit resources and habitats that would be inaccessible using only conventional senses. The spadefoot toad spends most of its life buried underground in desert soils, emerging only during brief periods when rain creates temporary pools suitable for breeding. These toads can remain dormant for months or even years, surviving in underground chambers where they enter a state of reduced metabolism similar to hibernation. When rains finally arrive, spadefoot toads emerge en masse, congregating at temporary pools where they must breed quickly before the water evaporates. The tadpoles of spadefoot toads develop at accelerated rates, metamorphosing into tiny toads in as little as 2 weeks, a compressed development necessary to complete the aquatic stage before pools dry. Some spadefoot tadpoles become cannibalistic, developing larger heads and stronger jaws that allow them to eat other tadpoles, an alternative developmental pathway that provides protein for faster growth. The hard structures on the hind feet that give spadefoot toads their name serve as digging tools, allowing them to burrow backward into soil where they create chambers and await the next rains. The nocturnal activity of spadefoot toads when they are above ground allows them to avoid the worst desert heat and to hunt insects that are themselves active at night. The calls of male spadefoot toads fill the air around breeding pools, creating choruses that can be heard from considerable distances as males compete to attract females. The ability of spadefoot toads to survive in extremely arid environments demonstrates how life can persist, even in conditions that seem prohibitive, with dormancy allowing animals to wait out unfavorable periods that would kill more active species. The explosive breeding events of spadefoot toads, with thousands of individuals gathering for just days or weeks before disappearing back underground, represent one of nature's most dramatic responses to unpredictable environments, concentrating life into brief windows of opportunity. The glass frog's translucent skin allows its internal organs to be visible from below, creating a natural window into the frog's body that serves as camouflage against predatory birds viewing them from above. The transparency is achieved through specialized skin structure and the arrangement of internal organs that minimizes light scattering, though the mechanisms producing this effect remain subjects of ongoing research. Glass frogs are primarily nocturnal, resting on leaves during the day and becoming active at night when they hunt small invertebrates and call to attract mates. The males of many glass frog species guard eggs that are laid on leaves overhanging streams, protecting them from predators and keeping them moist until tadpoles hatch and drop into the water below. The camouflage provided by transparency is so effective that glass frogs are difficult to spot, even when researchers know approximately where to look, with the frogs blending seamlessly with the green leaves they inhabit. The calls of glass frogs are high-pitched and often difficult for human ears to hear, with different species producing distinct call patterns that allow females to identify appropriate mates. The diversity of glass frog species in Central and South American rainforests includes dozens of species, many discovered only recently, and some potentially still undescribed by science. The conservation challenges facing glass frogs include habitat loss, pollution of the streams where their tadpoles develop, and the chytrid fungus that has devastated amphibian populations worldwide. The delicate beauty of glass frogs, with their green bones and visible organs creating a living anatomy lesson, captures the ingenuity of evolution in creating solutions to survival challenges, turning potential vulnerability into effective camouflage through transparency rather than coloration. And now these creatures of the night fade behind your thoughts. We've drifted through 100 quiet truths about beings who come alive when darkness falls, from the silent wings of owls to the patient glow of fireflies, from the deliberate shuffle of hedgehogs to the translucent beauty of glass frogs. You are connected to this world. The same darkness that cloaks these animals falls over you each night. The same moon that lights their paths shines through your window. The same ancient rhythm of day and night that guides their lives pulses through your own biology, written into cells that remember when all life moved by the sun's rising and setting. Tonight, as you rest, owls drift on silent wings through forests, bats navigate darkness with sound, and countless creatures emerge from hiding places to begin their ancient routines. They search for food, call to mates, defend territories, and simply exist in a world parallel to the daylight realm. The night is not empty but full, not silent but singing with voices pitched for darkness, and you are safe, warm, resting in a world full of wonder, where life continues in shadow and moonlight, where millions of hearts beat in rhythm with the turning earth, where every creature has found its place in the endless cycle of darkness and light. If you're still awake, go ahead and watch the next chapter. Sleep well and dream softly. Good night.